It suggests we talk about the moral landscape, which I'm not sure we'll do.
Well, I've written some notes that speak to that point, so I've discussed this ahead of time with ChatGPT, so.
Welcome to the Bookcast Club, a podcast for people who like to chat books. Today it is me, Sarah, coming to you from Bookcast, and I am very pleased to be welcoming Cobby back to the podcast again. Cobby, where are you joining us from, please?
I'm joining you from the Euronation in Sydney.
We thought we'd do an episode. This was your suggestion, and I thought it was a banging suggestion.
Thank
and we
you.
do an episode about the talented Mr. Ripley. So we've watched the film and we've read the book, and we're going to discuss the book and the film together, is the idea. So I'm pumped about. How are you going? Do you want to update everyone on how you've been since you were last on the podcast? Which was maybe, I think it was last year. It was around the Booker time, right? November-ish.
Yes, it was. It was just after the Booker, because we talked about the one book from the Booker shortlist that I managed to read, which turned out to be the winner. How lucky.
I actually got that from the library out today, funnily
Really?
enough. Yeah. Well, I've started it.
You'll enjoy it.
I feel a bit sick. Yeah, okay.
Oh.
Yeah, it's making...
What specifically? The concept of floating around in space?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'm sort of feeling a bit of like odd motion sickness. Like I'm a very empathetic person. I get very severe motion sickness. I don't know if you knew that.
You do. I do.
Yeah.
I did know that. I think. Yeah, I don't know anyone else who suffers from that. Quite the way you
I
do
get
so.
very severe plane motion sickness, which is wonderful for someone who takes very long haul flights multiple times a year.
That is good, isn't it?
Yeah, I've spent a lot of time in my life vomiting on planes, which is great.
Sorry, I shouldn't laugh
Yeah,
at that.
me too. Yeah. Anyway, and what are you burdened with?
I'm not too burdened.
Okay.
I've been well since we spoke last.
Do you have anything wrong? Do you have any allergies or anything? You don't, right?
I'm a bit eczematous sometimes. I get a bit of eczema on my hands.
Okay.
This type of situation.
I don't normally ask that question to people. Maybe I'll start posing it. What are you burdened with?
These are some set questions that we ask everyone who comes on the podcast. What are you burdened with, and what are you allergic to?
Yeah, what plagues you? Do you have any sort of mild
Sort of medical conditions.
Yeah.
That's it, really. So I'm good.
Okay.
I've been doing some reading in my workplace. We've started when I say we, I mean other people who are actually organised have started a book club, which I've been a part of. So that's nice, yeah.
What have you been reading?
Well, I'm a bit of a terrible person who didn't read the first two books because I didn't. One was like a really dense, long fantasy that was written in the 90s.
What an odd choice for a book club.
Yeah. So the themes were picked in advance and then we voted on the book. I'm not quite sure how the original sort of shortlist got constructed, but I think this was like a classic sort of novel that is very famous, apparently. It's called Tagana, and I just wasn't interested.
I wish you'd said like, oh, it's called Game of Thrones. I've never heard of it.
No, I think it's a bit more like of a traditional fantasy, but it's still got the people who live in the South are Italian and that sort of stuff going on.
I don't know it either.
There was another book that I read most of and then just stopped reading, which is really unusual for me, called The Diamond Eye, which was basically a really, really, really pulpy commercial fiction retelling of a real story about a Soviet World War II sniper, a female sniper who was greatly sort of decorated during World War II. She killed all these Germans, and her story's really fascinating and compelling. And I didn't feel that in the book. It felt like a quite dull, probably very historically inaccurate paperback. So I didn't finish it. But the third book it's a non-fiction book called Poverty, written by a sociologist who sort of works in poverty economics in America. So it was really fascinating. It was short. So I read that recently.
That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
I think we're on par with each other in terms of number of books this year because we recently became
We did.
storygraph friends.
That was exciting.
Yeah, which is
wasn't
very
it?
exciting. It was very exciting. After I think I've known you for 10 years, so I was really excited to take this next step with you.
Yeah.
Um,
I've
really
had Storygraph
tickled
for
by that.
ages, and I thought we were friends, and then
Yeah, I would have assumed we were friends,
Yeah.
but also I feel like we're both quite apathetic people, so neither of us.
Excuse me.
Oh, sorry.
No, it's accurate.
Neither of us would really be the one to make that effort to click follow or friend or whatever it is.
I
Do you know
thought
what I
I
mean?
had done that though, because I could see you. So what I hadn't done is
Oh.
befriend you. I just followed you.
Oh,
I was
hadn't
just
befriended
stalking you. You
Well,
didn't care
anyway,
what I was
now
reading.
I didn't know that you were. I didn't know that you were on Storygraph. Anyway, that's all been wonderful. It's been a great addition to my life. What have I been reading recently? I just finished a non-fiction called Unnatural Selection, which is about birth. What am I going to say? What do I don't. I don't know the word. How many? God,
Gender
what is the-
disparity and
Thank you.
births.
Yes, that's it. Birth rate disparity. And it was very interesting, and it was talking about the history of different countries. Focus on Asia, not always, but most of the time it was focusing on Asia, and parts of Eastern Europe, and how the gender birth rate disparity has been quite high in some countries, and the effects that has on all sorts of things, and why that is, and the idea of like sex selective abortion and all that kind of stuff, and like things like the one child policy, and how that has sort of permeated into. There's been a sort of cultural shift, and there's sort of like big differences in different cultures in terms of how much boys and girls are each valued, and how that's and this idea that there's like a very large number of essentially missing women because of sex selective abortion in some countries. So it was very interesting. Yeah, I really liked it. And also about what happens to these countries, like ultimately when you have a generation where there's a huge gender disparity.
That's so fascinating.
What actually happens, which is things like loneliness, epidemics, and all that kind of stuff. So it was very interesting. It was a very well researched book. A little dry in places. It got a little. I think it was. I strongly suspect it was based on from a PhD thesis or something like that. It felt like it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But it was quite good. But yeah, a little on the dry side, but not to worry.
An important read.
It was interesting. I don't even know why I read it. I think sometimes I just get stuff out of the library because it looks interesting.
Yeah.
And then I'm currently reading this short story collection. This one. What a great podcast description. She says this one. I've held it in front of the camera.
It's a visual medium.
It's very visual. It's called Her Body and Other Parties by Carmen Maria Machado. And it's a short story collection about just women, basically. And every short story kind of focuses on a woman whose body is being possessed in some way so far, be that by like a possessive partner or who doesn't quite feel like ownership over her body. It also could be like a woman who feels unsafe or is like turning someone down at a bar and feels like worried about it. And it's basically about women's safety and the sort of right to ownership that people feel over women's bodies in different ways. It's beautiful. The language is absolutely beautiful. I read another book of hers, I think it was called In the Dream House or something like that, which is a memoir about a relationship that she was in that was emotionally abusive.
Yeah.
Very compelling. Her writing's beautiful. And this is just, really good. There's a lot of magical realism in there, like the way that their bodies are actually like affected sometimes. Like the opening one is about, a woman who has a ribbon around her neck. And then her husband always asks her to take it off, and she says that she won't. And then like whether the ribbon's actually there or not, and if it's like that's sort of ambiguous. So that's the kind of vibe of them. I'm really, really enjoying it so far. It's really excellent.
Sounds really good. I don't read many short stories.
No, I've been reading a few collections this year, mostly because I have quite a few of them that I just buy because I feel like they're good to read. I don't know, and then I just don't read them.
And then you don't.
And then I don't read them, So I have a couple that I've been trying to get through this year. This one's been a very good one. Shall we talk about the talented Mr. Ripley?
Let's do it.
Let's get into it. I agree. Yeah, two things. So we've got the book by Patricia Highsmith. This is a 1955 psychological thriller. And then it was adapted into a film in 1999 starring Matt Damon as Mr. Ripley, as Tom Ripley. And then there's also a recent Netflix adaptation, right? Did you get around to watching that? Or I haven't watched it.
I didn't watch that.
Okay, that's all right.
I regret not watching it, but I think it to be quite good. I've seen it.
Yeah, well, it's got Andrew Scott as Mr. Ripley, right? Which is a very promising
a strong
choice.
start.
Oh, yes, he's quite a good actor.
He is.
I can also imagine he would do an amazing job as Tom Ripley. But yes, I'll describe the book. So it's a psychological thriller focused around this guy, Tom Ripley. And it's essentially about a con that he basically that he runs. And so it started off based in the US, and I think it's just in the 50s, right? That's it's set at the time when the book comes out. And he is someone who hasn't got a lot of money. He is sort of making his best in life. And one of the things that he does in life is he kind of deceives people a little bit in order to kind of make ends meet. It's not sort of super intentional at this point in the book. And then he runs into someone who he sort of vaguely knows through his circles in New York, a very rich man who has a huge company, Mr. Greenleaf. And he finds out that Mr. Greenleaf is looking for his son, who is the same age as Tom. And Tom and the son, who is called Dickie Greenleaf, they know each other a little bit, tiny bit, not super much. And the son, Dickie Greenleaf, has gone off to Italy and he won't come back. And he's like sort of living off his father's money, and the father is trying to get him to come back. And then Tom basically exaggerates how well he knows him. And then Mr. Greenleaf employs Tom to go to Italy and to get his son back. And so his mission is to basically befriend the son or talk to the son or whatever, get the son to come back to the US.
Convince him to return. And I think in the book his mother is dying of lymphoma or something. So there's like a sense of urgency. He really needs to come home. I can't remember if that's also something that happens in the movie.
I think she's just sort of weak or something in the movie. Okay. I think sort of
she's just ill, vaguely ill.
Yeah, she's just ill. And so then he sort of, I don't know exactly how much we're going to spoil. Sort of wild things ensue. So he sort of goes to Italy under false pretenses.
Yeah.
And he's not exactly running a huge con, but he is kind of exaggerating for convenience.
He's sort of superficially deceiving everyone the whole time about who he is and what his sort of standing in life is. And then things get out of hand. Hijinks ensue.
Very much so. Should we talk about how do you want to do it? Do you want to talk about spoilers, do you think? Or do you
I think it would be helpful to say that in order to talk about, there probably are going to be lots of spoilers. I think if you know anything about this story, you probably have a bit of a gist about what happens. It's sort of almost like the Secret History situation where the main event of the book that everything is kind of drawn around doesn't happen too far in. So that's not a massive spoiler, I wouldn't say. Yeah.
So let's spoil it. We'll do
let's
spoilers.
Spoil it. Let's spoil it.
It's a 25-year-old film.
Yeah.
You know, and a 70-year-old
film. You know. Everyone's been given ample time to read it.
Yeah, exactly. If you haven't read it by now, I finished it today. Like, look, if you haven't got it today, you're never going to. So yeah, what happens? So once he gets to Italy, he kind of starts to befriend Dickie. There's a bit of exactly as you said, this kind of exaggeration, and then he sort of starts to take on more and more of Dickie's persona. There's a lot of lead up to this, and then eventually, what happens actually is he actually kills Dickie and basically tries to take over as Dickie and sort of impersonate him and take all of his money. Yeah. That's the sort of premise. Then lots of things happen. We'll sort of keep it to that, I think. Lots of things happen within that, but that's the sort of bones of the book. And especially in the film, there's a huge lead up to him actually doing this. Like, you know that he's going to do this pretty quickly. Actually in the book as well, because he sort of consistently is saying things like, oh, hands are very similar. Or like making comments about their foot size being the same and all this kind of stuff.
And initially, because there is a kind of, both in the book and in the movie, there's a kind of homoerotic tension between those two characters. It might not be crystal clear about what's going on in terms of that being a prelude to him murdering him and assuming his persona. It's more like he feels this affinity with this other man, i.e. Tom feels an affinity with Dickie, and it's never explicitly alluded to, or maybe it is briefly in the film, but it's insinuated a lot that there's more kind of going on between them. So that's the lead up to him eventually becoming Dickie.
Yep. Yep.
And then much of the rest of the book after that and the movie is dedicated to him trying to evade capture. And it's super tense.
Yeah, it's very it's such a heisty book. It's pretty funny.
Yeah.
It's quite dramatic. It's quite camp in that way. There's sort of policemen. It's kind of cartoonish. The policemen are kind of running back and forth, and he's kind of running back and forth.
Yeah, absolutely.
It really reminded me. It's like a book about, that classic cartoon scene where you've got people being chased and they.
Yeah.
That's what I like. Which I admired.
But it's super tense. There's nothing funny about it, or at least I didn't think there was. It's very compelling, and of course, in both the book and the movie, you're being carried along with this really awful person who's deceitful, a liar, a con man, and then a murderer. Who then continues to perpetrate a fraud against the man he's murdered and his unsuspecting family. But the whole time you're so compelled by the story, I feel like you're really drawn into the narrative and you're kind of forced to maybe not sympathize with, but because a lot of the book and the movie about this man fearing for his life, fearing that he's going to get caught out for these crimes he's committed, you're kind of drawn into his story, even though he's not. He's obviously a morally kind of corrupt character. So that adds kind of another layer to it.
Yeah, he's an oddly sympathetic character. It's quite bizarre.
He's really sympathetic.
For what he does.
Yeah. In different ways, I think, in the book and the movie.
Yeah, I think so. So I think the book and the movie are they're quite close to each other.
Very.
So shall we maybe talk about the plot and then the two characters, and we'll just talk about the book and the movie consistently, like together, because I think it's quite not that interesting to separate them, to be honest, because they're very close.
Yep.
And then we'll talk about some key differences. So first, I guess I would like to know plot. Let's talk about the plot first. What did you kind of think of the plot? What was your take on the book versus film plot?
So as you said, very similar. There are a few differences. I don't think any of them are major. In the movie, they've added 2 female characters. They've added the Cate Blanchett character. She's not in the book.
She is right at the end, and it's she, like in the last 5 pages she came in, and I was like, oh, I forgot about Cate Blanchett. She's not called Cate Blanchett in the book. She's called Mrs. Cartwright or whatever.
That's right. But she's quite a major character who kind of plays a role in the early parts of the plot in the movie. And I think they might have done that because the book is a little bit light on female characters, especially likable female characters, because Marge is not very likable in the book. I mean, you definitely feel awful for her at various points in time. She's sympathetic, but she's not likable, whereas I would say Gwyneth Paltrow is very likable in the movie.
Yep, agree.
But we can talk more about that later. And then the other plot point they put in, probably again to draw the audience a little bit away from only being focused on Tom Ripley, to give more flesh to the other characters and to kind of expand their sort of character arcs. There's an Italian woman who is having a relationship with Dickie, and that whole thing doesn't happen in the book. No. And I thought that was actually a good addition, both of those characters.
Yeah, I agree. So Dickie Greenleaf in the book, he's a lot less likable he's a lot more likable than he is in the film, I would say. So the film kind of makes him to be. I think so. Well, okay. I think he's much more of a I found it easier to dislike him in the film. Maybe it's because you're more faced with the things like what he's actually doing. But there's quite a few moments in the film where he's very unpleasant.
I
as a
agree
character.
with that, and the whole sort of subplot with the Italian woman. I guess we don't really need to spoil that, but he that makes him a more complex character, but a more morally complex character, I guess. And he doesn't come off sort of well in that interaction, whereas he's a simpler character in the book.
Yeah,
I would say
he's a little bit more earnest in the book. I think
he is. Yes,
and then Tom is. First of all, the film is played by there's some excellent actors in this. It's a very star-studded cast.
It is.
There's like Tom Ripley is played by Matt Damon. Then we have Dickie is played by Jude Law. Gwyneth Paltrow plays his sort of girlfriend Marge. And there's Kate Blanchett, who's just randomly there playing a side character. And then Philip Seymour Hoffman is sort of one of the other side characters.
Yeah.
It's quite a thing.
But for some of those people, this would have been early in their career. Looking back, yeah, it's a pretty incredible cast.
Yeah, so Dickie is, so I'd say less likable in the film. And that's what my experience was. Tom is less likable in the book, I think.
Yes, I agree strongly.
The film kind of softens him.
It does.
Yeah, so in the book you hear more. It's from his point of view. So in the book you hear a lot more of his internal narrative.
Yes.
And you hear what he thinks of people. And in the film he's a lot more sympathetic, I think. He seems a bit more like a lost boy.
Yes.
Trying to sort of find his way.
I think you've nailed it. I think in the movie you get the sense that he's an earnest person. You're not privy, obviously, because of the medium, to his internal thoughts, but he comes across as someone who almost gets dragged into committing heinous acts or to lying because he feels compelled by circumstances to do those things, rather than someone who has like a lot of malicious intent and plans to do bad stuff. Whereas he's, from the very beginning in the book, he's a con man from the start. The opening pages are about these small-time cons he's pulling, scamming people out of their money with basically mail fraud. So from the beginning this guy is like a bad actor, but you're still seeing everything drawn out from his perspective, and you still feel so compelled when he's in these situations where he's feeling all of this fear he's about to get caught. You're feeling that fear as well because I guess of the medium that's in. You're seeing or reading the narration from his perspective, and I think this is such an interesting book because it really pulls off that unlikable character so well. For me at least, it's totally succeeds in being a page-turning thriller, even though you're forced to hear the story through the eyes of this sort of morally corrupt character.
Yeah. He's quite frustrating as a character as well, because he just does so many things that don't make a lot of sense, and so you sort of, or that are not, he sort of hangs around once he sort of gets through his con. Like you just sort of desperately want him to leave, and he just bizarrely doesn't.
Yes.
As he sort of continually puts himself in danger.
Absolutely.
Which is just infuriating as the reader. In the film, it's even worse, I think. But yeah, both of them, he just kind of hangs around beyond all reason. He's just sort of like not very smart. He's such a weird character in that way. It's odd.
I think that's a really interesting point. I don't think he's meant to come off as not smart, because I think part of the pull of the character is that he is a bit intelligent. He does pull this stuff off. It feels like he is so desperate. So the other side of his nature is he is so desperate to truly be this high status person. He wants to be friends with Dickie. He wants to be Dickie. And then once he's pulled this con off, he can't like extract himself from that world. He still wants to stay in it. So
yeah.
That's the feel I get from that. But I do know what you mean. He nearly gets caught so many times. He should just like disappear.
Yeah.
And kind of extract himself from the situation, but he doesn't do that. He wants to pull another con.
I continually was sort of battling whether I thought he was like a sort of complete psychopath, a huge idiot, or like something in between. It's so
Yes,
hard
yeah.
to get. Even with the book, it's so hard to work out how much is that intentional. He just kind of like does things, and I was like, the book is more intentional, I would say. The film, I was like, what are you doing?
And again, um, because you're not hearing his thoughts, obviously in the movie, you don't get the sense, but in the book, you get a sense that there's mixed emotions. He feels a lot of fear and terror that he's going to get caught, but at various points in time, he feels guilt. He's genuinely guilty. So he's not a kind of absolute stone cold psychopath, even though lots of the stuff he does is pretty psychopathic. And then this kind of feeling not just of guilt but like of self-loathing as well. He needs to be someone else. He kind of feels this need to pull himself out of his pull himself away from his modest upbringing. He wants to be this sort of high status, high society person, and he kind of loathes himself for not being that. So
yeah, there's the desperation in his circumstance, I think, comes across incredibly well.
In both the book and the film.
Definitely, yeah. I think she's really good at, in the book, I think Miss Patricia Highsmith is really good at setting up an unexplained, she doesn't give a lot of explanation. She's really, really good, I think, at the show not tell. So she'll set up this kind of desperate circumstance, in my opinion, that makes you sort of really feel for him.
Yep.
And it's always done very much in terms of like descriptions of clothes and how at ease everyone else is who has a lot of money and all that kind of stuff.
Yes.
So it really gives you that desperate feeling that he must have. And there is more in the book. It's actually even more set up where you get more information about his background and how he's actually living. Where
that's right.
He's quite a mysterious character. So yeah, you feel quite sorry for him, kind of.
Yeah,
it's quite bizarre how much you go back and forth.
I think that's true in the movie. From memory, there's not really any backstory. You meet him and he's like playing the piano or something at a cocktail party.
Yeah.
And he seems mostly compelled to keep doing the things he does not 100%, but it feels as though he's predominantly compelled by the need. Like once he's done one bad thing, he has to tell lies to cover it up. And that just snowballs. He needs to keep telling the lies. Whereas, as you pointed out, in the book, it feels a little bit more like the end goal for him is to pull off this kind of this bigger con of like becoming a new person.
Yeah.
So I think that speaks to how he's a more obviously evil character in the book, for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
And Matt Damon's like very baby-faced and good-looking, and obviously don't see Tom Ripley in the book, you know what I mean? So that adds to his greater likability in the movie, I think.
Yeah, agree. Very much agree. Shall we talk a little bit about the queerness in the book and the film? Because there's some differences there. I'd be sort of interested to hear what you think. We maybe won't give too much of it away because a lot of it happens right at the end.
Yep.
But there's sort of a sort of queer notes to the book that is pretty well. Not much happens really. It's just sort of there.
Mm.
And then in the film, it's much more explicit, and that becomes kind of a plot point. So I'm curious to know what you thought about that sort of change that they made.
I'm not sure why they did it. I guess it adds something to the rationalization about why he's doing these things, and maybe if you add in this element of motivation because he's kind of in love with Dickie and Dickie rejects him, that makes him a little bit more likable, a bit more of a sympathetic character, and it makes the murder feel more in hot blood rather than a cold-blooded attempt to commit fraud, pretty much. So that might have been part of it. And I guess it's helpful to be a bit more heavy-handed, potentially. Like you don't want to leave the audience too confused by like vaguely insinuating too much in a movie, I guess. It's frustrating to a broader audience. And maybe another reason that the author leaves things a bit vaguer is you know, we're hearing everything from Tom's perspective, and even he is unwilling to like admit this. He doesn't talk about it in his internal thoughts. Do you know what I mean? So for me, that adds to this feeling of that's another element of himself that he loathes or that he's in conflict with. So maybe that's partly why it gets different treatment in the book and the movie.
Yeah, I think it really added a lot to the idea of him wanting to sort of build a new life for himself and he's basically trying to take on a new character and take on a new person. And that element of him sort of battling with a queer identity, it changes the kind of emotional valence, I guess, of what he's actually trying to do.
Definitely.
And that's a really good point, actually. You're quite right, because in the film he doesn't really say anything. These things happen that are much more explicit, but you're just watching them, and he's not that communicative or whatever. Whereas in the book, he doesn't tell you anything. That's a good point.
Yeah, and I was wrong before when I said both the book and the film kind of insinuate. You're quite right. There's way more explicit stuff in the movie, including at the very end, which doesn't have too much bearing on the movie overall. But yeah, the other male character who comes in at the end, that's pretty explicit.
Yeah, but yeah,
so that's definitely a difference.
Yeah, so that's sort of. I think it's a really good change. I think it made it a much more.
Yeah, definitely.
Sympathetic. Yeah, the film is much warmer than the book. I think overall, in a good way.
Yeah.
I think.
And of course, we're forgetting that the book was written like before the film, so the permissibility of writing an explicitly gay character would have been, very different to making a movie in whenever it came out. 80s, 90s,
1999.
99. Oh my god.
Yeah, it's the book is it's still set in the 50s, so it's sort of it could be any time, but it's 1999.
I was so wrong though. At the 80s, like a decade.
That's all right. I don't know if you heard. I can't remember if this episode has come out, but we recently did an episode where we talked about The Wizard of Oz, and I said it came out in the 50s.
You were wrong about that. I listened to it. It was awesome. It's a good episode, listeners. You should definitely listen to that one.
Thank you. It's decades out. I think it came out in 1930, but anyway.
Yeah. Oh, poor Judy.
Poor Judy.
Yeah. One big difference for me that I was a bit surprised about, particularly as the author's a woman, was the lack of female characters in the book. Not that, I mean, again, it was written in the 50s, but the Marge character is, not particularly likable, not particularly good looking, and not particularly clever in the book. And Tom Ripley really doesn't like her. Obviously, we perceive her through his eyes, so we're kind of drawn into that a little bit, but it didn't feel very much like the author liked that character a lot either.
No, agree.
That was interesting, whereas in the movie she's like onto him. And in fact, that's a plot difference. The thing with the rings at the end, that's it. Her reaction in the movie is exactly what he fears she's going to do in the book. She realizes the penny drops, whereas the penny kind of drops the other way in the wrong direction in the book. She's like, oh, this confirms your story, rather than actually kind of proving that he's like, usurped Dickie's identity. So I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, it's a bit of I agree. I found that a bit of a shame that in the book it is written in the 50s, but by a woman. But it's a shame that the only female character is basically sort of a not very intelligent stone in a man's shoe, basically.
Yeah.
Whereas in the film, she has a lot more agency, and she's basically figures everything out. She's a lot more discerning than any of the male characters. And there's this interesting element of it in the film where she is the only one who figures out what's going on, and the other male characters are very patronizing to her, like, oh, don't worry yourself with all this, you wouldn't, and she's even the private detective has not got anywhere near as good an idea as she does.
In the new adaptation, that character's played by Dakota Fanning, and it seems like, and again, I should have watched it and I didn't, but it seems like they've gone even more in that direction with that character and with that casting choice, because Dakota Fanning can be quite like, as an adult, plays a lot of almost sinister and often sinister roles. that's further away again, I think. She's in the like shorts that I've seen, she's kind of sitting there being interviewed by the police about Tom Ripley, and she's like, he's a fucking psychopath. You know, she sees exactly what his character is, whereas Marge doesn't like Tom in the book, but it's because it's for kind of like petty, womanly reasons. She sees him as a man who's taking up time with Dickie, the time she wants to spend with Dickie. So that was interesting. Did you read much about Patricia Highsmith, the author?
No, I didn't actually. I should have. I didn't think to.
Look, I regretted doing that.
So, oh God, don't tell me.
Yeah. So she's a really interesting character. I didn't read a lot because she's a really like herself a really conflicted person, I think. So I think she had an extremely difficult upbringing, and she had this really conflicted view about women, like what she thought of them as like sort of a queer woman, but also a bit of a misogynist. And also she had some really upsetting views, some quite bigoted, like racist views as well. So she's quite a interesting character. But I did feel, having read that theme of like having these sort of contradictory feelings like within yourself, maybe like a little bit informed this character. Like her most famous character is definitely Tom Ripley. She hasn't just written one book about him. She's written like 5, I think. There's like a whole series of books. And so I think there's a bit of maybe her in that character.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to read it. This is a good one, Cobb. I didn't think to look her up. Yeah, well, I'm just reading her Wikipedia page. So she had an affair with an artist, and that artist killed herself. And she felt very guilty over the artist's death, which is interesting if you read the book. And then she also had a year-long affair with a very rich socialite. These are both women, so that's very into those elements. Kind of definitely pop up in the Talents of Mr. Ripley. That's really interesting. So she was an extreme alcoholic. She used to drink from breakfast until she went to bed. My God. I think I kind of instinctively avoided looking her up given the era that the book was written in.
Yeah. And also from the 50s.
And sort of some of the way that some of the Italians are described.
Yes. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, strap yourself in for if you read the rest of the Wikipedia page, because it doesn't get better.
Lovely.
Yeah. But I think that maybe that little vein of self-loathing is in this character.
Definitely. And then the way that the book and the film end are quite different. So, like, we won't say how they each end, but basically one ends in tragedy and the other one ends in. It's a very odd. You're sort of left in two very different emotional places. So, did you prefer? I think I preferred the film's ending.
I think obviously in the book he has to go on to be in other books. So in the film, it's kind of a standalone film. They didn't make a series of films, so it feels very much like things are over for him at the end of the film, if that makes sense. And at the end of the film, again, like following on from this theme, it feels like the major emotion at the end is that everything's been a massive tragedy, and he the character feels remorse and sort of a lot of guilt and despondency about what he's become and how everything's turned out for him. Whereas at the end of the book, the major negative feeling is one of like more paranoia. At the beginning of the book, in the book it says Tom hated the feeling that he was being followed or that he needed to look over his shoulder. It says that early on when he's talking about being worried that he's going to be found out for the mail fraud and the small-time cons he's pulling. At the end, that sentiment is echoed. He says something along the lines of, am I going to have to look out for policemen on every pier? Is this going to be the rest of my life, constantly looking over my shoulder? Because I might be found out for all the murdering I gone and done. So, yeah, it was quite different. But similarly, he seems more sympathetic in the movie.
He just overall in general. But yeah, I was surprised by how different they were. Yeah, they made some very bold choices in the film.
Did you like Which ending did you like more?
I think I like the film. Well, I liked the film a lot better, actually.
Just
Let me
in
say,
general.
yeah, I really love the film. Like, I really love the film. So
Yeah.
I liked the way. So I watched the film first, and then I
Me
read the
too.
book.
Yeah.
But the ending of the film, I did prefer, but it's also kind of a product of some of the things that happen, that some of the other more subtle choices, like what we were talking about the emotional depth of the characters and all that kind of thing.
For sure.
The ending is kind of a product of all of those subtle changes.
Yeah, it's kind of at the end the course gets turned in that direction rather than that one. Because I liked both of them so much, I maybe feel more positive about the book than you do, but I probably agree that I liked the movie more. I like that kind of awful sense of reading a book about this horrible character but like not being able to look away. The compelling nature of that is similar to obviously the movie, but it feels a little bit different. So I really did enjoy the book a lot, but I do agree with you. The movie is like, I would never have read the book if I hadn't seen the movie. The movie's brilliant.
Yeah, the movie's amazing. And I think what you said about the cast of characters earlier is really bang on, because I think if the other characters, like I'm thinking Peter, Marge, if they had been more like the film ones, I think I probably would have liked the book probably on par with the film. But it just feels a bit cold in comparison.
Maybe because you kind of sense Ripley plus minus the author's contempt for a lot of the other characters. Either they're sort of pathetic and stupid and being fooled by Tom, like Marge and Dickie's parents, or they're unlikable for other reasons. So I think, and I didn't think that many of them had as much depth as in the movie. They were maybe a little bit less complex. Yeah, it was. I do think the movie knocks it out of the park, but I did like the more sinister elements or the more complex elements of Tom Ripley in the book, I think.
Yeah, I agree. So we think Tom Ripley's a better character in the book. He's more fleshed out.
Yeah, I would say.
You get more about his backstory. You hear more from him.
Yes,
you understand him a little bit better, I think.
Do.
He's a very ambiguous character in the film. But then the other elements of the film bring in more into the story. Yeah.
They made some good changes. And it's not a criticism of the film, because obviously the film doesn't have a narration. That's not the medium. So that's not a criticism. It's just a difference, I think. Yeah,
I really hate it. Not always, but most of the time when films do narration, I don't think it's very good. So
that would have been horrific.
Yeah, when they adapt books and then they sort of use the narration to get around that. I don't think it works very well.
Apart from The Shawshank Redemption. Let's not forget.
Oh, what a great film.
What a film.
What a great film. I might interrupt a bit so we can talk organically about our Patreon. Is that all right?
Oh, please.
Yeah, we decided to do that. We used to do like the very, I don't know, ads with music and stuff, and now we decided to try and make it more organic.
Yeah, an interstitial ad.
Is that what it's called? I didn't know that. Thank you, Cobby.
Oh, you know, in YouTube videos where there's this very subtle segue into like kind of a weird topic, and you're like, oh, where's this going? And then you realize here's the ad.
Yeah,
and that's why I recommend this product from our sponsor. Yeah.
VPN. That's why you should use NordVPN. What? Well, you don't have to use NordVPN, although you are free to if you like. But we do have a Patreon if you're enjoying the episode and you would like to support us. We have 3 tiers. The basic way that we run the Patreon is that you can pay what you want, and then you have access to our bonus episodes, and then we also have a top tier where we will mail you books, and you also get personalized book recommendations from us. That top tier is currently full, I believe. So I'll say that it exists, but unfortunately you can't join it at this moment because we're at max capacity. But otherwise, there are the other tiers. I heard max capacity on, I don't know, someone. I don't know. But we do have the other tiers. So what you can do if you like is you can join it, and then you hear bonus episodes from us. And the bonus episodes are quite fun. We tend to do broader things. So we talk about books still, of course, all the time. But we also talk about other things. We do lots of more film stuff. We talk about work sometimes. All kinds of stuff. So, just so you know that it's there.
And I would recommend it.
Thank you, Cobb. Yeah.
Patreon. I'm not one of your top tier Patreons, and I'm sad to hear I've missed out.
Oh, that's all right. I would feel a bit weird if you were, because we're quite good friends. It would be. It's very nice of you to be up at a Patreon of ours. I appreciate it.
It's worth it. It's a genuinely good podcast, Sarah,
Thank
and
you very
listeners.
much. Thank you. Thank you very much. I was going to ask you something else about. Oh, I just want to talk about the film for a little bit, if that's all right.
Please.
Because I just thought it was such a good film. Like, really,
I totally
really good.
agree with you, yeah.
Yeah, Matt Damon was excellent. Really excellent. I thought he played Tom Ripley so well. And I had to, it's such a good psychological thriller, because it's from the 90s, so it's a bit of a different beat as in terms of being a psychological thriller than you have these days. It's quite a long film, and it's quite elaborate, and a lot of the shots and that kind of thing. A lot of elements of it are quite elaborate, and there's a lot of Italian in it, and there's all these like great things in it, like those kind of aspects that I really, really liked. So it kind of feels like quite a 90s film in that way. It's got quite a detailed, well-explained plot. I just thought it was so excellent. It really was tense. And I had to pause it several times because I was getting really...
It's so tense, yeah.
It's so good. It's really, really good. And Tom Ripley is such an infuriating character in the film. I just wanted to scream at him a lot of the time. And he's just such a... In the book, you kind of have quite a good idea about what he's trying to do. And in the film, you're just like... Or I, at least, was just like, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
It's like, get out. I thought it was such a good film. It was a great... Yeah, loved it.
I think the book does an awesome job of conveying place, but obviously the movie's set in like a fictional town in Italy, a seaside town that's based off the real life Italy. And it's so beautiful. It's such a dramatic, gorgeous, scenic backdrop to all of the dark events that unfold. So that's I mean, really it's kind of worth watching for that alone, and all the beautiful people who are cast in this movie.
Yeah, Gwyneth Paltrow does a really good job. Like,
yeah, she's
really
amazing.
I feel like I haven't really seen her in stuff where she was like quite good. I have such a strong picture of her these days because her sort of I don't even know how to describe her these days. Her sort of current entrepreneurial activities are so bizarre,
so out of touch with reality. It's sort of like the Tom Cruise thing. Like, we recently watched A Few Good Men, and I haven't watched heaps of films with Tom Cruise in them, but he is really awesome at acting, and it made me contemplate how, at least in my view, there's like a weird disconnect between, I guess, how he can like take on this character that is so different from in real life. You know, his worldview is so unique with the whole Scientology thing. And
there's not a lot of sort of big Scientology roles.
No, but here's this person who can just like, he's an actor, right? And for sure, like Gwyneth Paltrow in not The Life Aquatic, the Royal Tenenbaums. Have you seen that?
No, I haven't seen him.
Oh, yeah. She's a wildly different character to the one she is in real life. So, yeah, I agree with you. She's really good in The Talented Mr. And Philip Seymour Hoffman is like my favorite actor of all time.
Oh, really?
I'm really sad that he's dead. It's devastating.
The way that she plays Marge is very understated and very good. Like, you get such a good feeling of Marge's emotions. So I wonder how much that it's actually down to her that there's so much more life in this character in the film than in the book. Yeah, God, the character that Philip Seymour Hoffman plays is fucking infuriating. He's such a scumbag. God, he was frustrating. Very well played, but he played him so well that every time he came on screen, I was like, like, such a strong ick.
But exactly, you do have more revulsion for him and more of like towards him than for the guy who's literally running around murdering people, and you dislike him because he's like, why is that? Okay, for sure, the character is like odious and an unlikable man, but it's because he's on to Tom. You know, he too has sussed him out as being dodgy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like, shut up.
Yeah,
Philip
exactly.
Seymour Hoffman, Freddie, whatever his name was. And then, Matt Damon he played him so, so well. I thought it was just a really stellar performance. It's been a while since I've seen, it's a bit of a different role for what I've otherwise seen Matt Damon in. I haven't seen loads of his films. I thought it was really, really good.
We watched The Bourne Supremacy recently.
I've seen him mostly in more recent stuff. I haven't seen a lot of his earlier things. Because obviously he's in so many films these days. But then we did watch The Departed the weeks after, because we were like, oh, Matt Damon's actually a very good actor. And then we watched The Departed, which he wasn't great in.
Is that right? Because I've seen that, I think, twice, and I didn't. Again, that's, for me, I really love thrillers and crime drama. So I was hooked on that movie, but I might have overlooked his bad acting in it.
Well, I think the movie is amazing. I loved the movie. And the Leonardo DiCaprio is the other star.
Yes.
And he does such a good job.
Oh, like, Leo.
He's amazing.
Yeah.
Incredible. And there's quite a lot of other characters in that film who are just incredibly well played.
Yeah.
So I think he's kind of a bit of a weak link, but it's a very well acted.
Okay.
Like, it's so well acted. I think his character is a bit boring. And I think you're also kind of, with that film, you're kind of set up to think that he's going to be this kind of big, pivotal, grey character, and he kind of isn't. Also, DiCaprio is, like, incredible. What a hot take. I was like, God, he's a really good actor. That's really something. He's amazing.
This is the big takeaway from this episode.
Yeah, he can really act. He's really good.
This incredibly famous, successful actor who's in many acclaimed films is really good.
So who else is in? I'm just going to flick through. So Jack Nicholson's incredible. Yeah, Mark Wahlberg plays one of the main FBI agents. He's amazing.
Oh my God, that's right. Mark Wahlberg and Matt Damon are in it.
Yeah.
That's very confusing for me, because they're identical twins.
Very much cut from the same cloth, aren't they? Yeah, so many of the there's quite a lot of characters, and they're just very very well played.
Yeah.
Is
there a female protagonist? I can't remember.
Not really. Only there's the terrible psychologist, as in terrible as in very bad at her job. I can't remember who plays her. Vera Farmiga. I don't know who that is, actually. I don't know. She's in The Boy in the Striped Pajamas. I don't know, but she's a very bizarrely poor psychologist. But Jack Nicholson is so good.
He's so much, though. I do agree with you.
Anyway, that's not what we're talking about. That's The Departed. That's a different film.
That is a different film to this one.
Yeah, but Matt Damon can act in some circumstances. That's what my conclusion is. And in this one, very much so. So I really recommend this film if you haven't seen it. Listener, it's really, really good. And the book is quite good. It's quite fun. It's a good read. It's a good, fun read. Yeah,
and I will say I love literary fiction, but I feel like I'm not as highbrow as you in my...
Oh, really? I don't think so.
No, it's definitely true.
Are you literally reading, like, Kafka right now?
I haven't finished that. It's so much. I think because a combination of sort of working in a little bit in a sort of public service area, and also the fact that books translated, this is the trial, sort of come together in a really unpleasant way for me. So it's not an enjoyable experience to read that book. I think a lot is lost in translated books, and not always, but I felt like there was something lost in this. I felt like it's meant to be really funny, and it just I couldn't, for me as a reader, I couldn't sense the humor.
That stuff is so contextual.
Yeah,
it's so contextual. It's in culturally contextual that I think humor is really hard to translate,
or linguistically contextual. Even like it's not enough that the words be translated accurately. There's something missing, and I get it. Like, the absurdist nature of massive bureaucracies is horrific and funny, but that's just not the experience I had reading that book, so it's not finished. That's why I'm reading that on Storycraft.
No, I was very impressed, as I always am by you.
Don't be.
Well, I will be. Oh, you can't stop me. Lovely. That might be it, Cobb. Thanks for coming on the pod.
I think we've discussed everything there is to say was said.
I agree. Do you feel sated?
Yes.
Good. That's my aim. To sate and to satisfy, as you know. And thank you very much for coming on the pod. Thank you to the listener for listening. We really appreciate it. We really recommend this book and film duo. So if you are interested, check them out, of course. And if you have other books that you think we might like to do a film v book comparison, please let us know, because I quite like doing these. It's quite fun. Thanks for listening. Join our Patreon in the show notes if you would like. We have a newsletter if you want to sign up. It's in the comments. You can contact us on the Bookcast Club at outlook.com, or you can contact us on TikTok or Instagram. We are at Bookcast Club on both of those. Thank you for listening, and we will speak to you next week. Goodbye.
Bye.